So let's talk about evil empires, everybody. And I don't mean like fictional evil empires, I mean all evil empires, the entire gamut of evil empires. What exactly makes an empire evil? Well, if you ask me, they all have one thing in common: a kind of moronic leader. Or maybe not the leader necessarily, but the motivations will still be stupid. I mean, take for example the British Empire back when it was evil. During the Opium Wars, China tried to ban opium, and guess what happened? British drug dealers showed up in Parliament and whined. They said, "Oh, the Chinese are throwing our drugs into the ocean, what are you gonna do about it?" And the British said, "Okay, we'll intercede, but what are the long-term implications?" And then the drug dealers said, "We'll make lots of money as the long-term implication." And of course that was nothing but supervillain logic. It's kind of amazing how some historical characters will do one thing and not another, and they might as well just build a giant death ray and hold the world hostage. I mean, I'm gonna be frank, let's look at one of the world's biggest historical villains, Hitler. Truthfully, the guy was kind of a dumbass. A controversial opinion, I know. But I mean, look at the guy, he can't even dress himself, and he was the boss of the uniforms. It's not like he was being forced to wear this and he just couldn't find one his size. You have to think there was really nothing good about Hitler. I mean, no one even liked him. The German people didn't even want him to be in charge, but he got to be in charge anyway. The subordinates below Hitler were things like former chicken farmers, and they were using their knowledge of chicken breeding to decide how they were gonna manage their people. The stuff that they did, aside from the horrible human rights violations, were bananas bonkers. There's a reason the British didn't think that the Nazis were gonna hold out for more than like a year. The entire phony war period was just France and Britain waiting for Hitler to stick a fork in his toaster. Unfortunately, he did eventually get himself killed, but it took a really long time. The thing to take home from this, and the fact that's so scary, is how easy it was for someone to actually take control of a country despite having no qualifications. If you think it doesn't happen today, I bet there are probably tons of major business leaders who are every bit as dumb as, well, maybe not the Nazis, but they're not like geniuses. And not just to harp on big business, I've also heard terrible stories about the way our US military works. I mean, you ever put like a pizza in the microwave and then you forget it and you find it again the next day and then you stop and you think to yourself, "Oh yeah, I'm descended from a chimp." I worry that some world leaders do that kind of thing, and they don't think about the chimp part. But in relation to this game, I've been thinking about Gilda as a world leader, and I realized that actually she is a really good fit for an evil empire leader. She would be exactly the kind of world leader where if one of her generals poisoned a city, people would come to her and they'd say, Gilda, your generals are poisoning the city." And she would say, "Dude, I have a lot going on right now. This better be important." And they would say, yes it is, the generals report directly to you, so someone has to do something about this poisoning of the city. And Gilda would say, "Can't you see I'm trying to get to level 7 in my game?" So, see, nothing would get done and there would be no checks and balances, everything would just be running amok. It's actually a perfect recipe for an evil empire. The only thing I really want to know is how exactly did Gilda get in charge? But, oh well, let's get back to our game. So here we are in the Empire. No ships go here, on account of how much sense that would make. See, I'm not really clear on that. There's gotta be some ships, I mean, unless they're just completely self-sufficient, which I don't think is true, because otherwise they wouldn't have a good motivation to attack other people. Also, too, I learned some kind of new move. It looks like both the ponies get it, so that's nice about having two characters that have the exact same movesets. But anyway, I guess the Empire didn't originally own these other cities on this continent, so they were originally just this, ziggurat with these few huts in it. Speaking of, what is this, a utility closet? Hey yo! Who's funnier? I don't know who these people are. What? And then Pip just runs through the wall on either sides of me? This has been a weird exchange. Right, I'm sure you can do it. Young folks, hang in there. Then she heals us. So, I don't know. Maybe they don't have like a welfare program in the Empire, and so this lady, she like had to budget her money for retirement, so she sat down in that little hut, and she's like, "I'll just sit in here and worry about comedians." Those guys might have been her grandkids, but now they're dead, so we're the grandkids, and that's why she heals us. Also, I don't understand, every time I try to equip Applejack with something, she drops her shield, but it looks like I can just put it back on, so there's no reason to drop her shield. And speaking of shields, I'm getting a little tired of getting my butt kicked by these bosses. I keep getting smashed the first time I fight every single one of them, and it's getting a little bit old. I don't think that extra equipment will help, because they're just doing too much damage, but I'll see. And also, okay, never mind, it looks like I'm pretty much up to date, or something. Man, what is with all these girders up here? Oh, no, not going up there. Too many guards. Yeah, all these girders, what are they supporting? It looks like they're just going everywhere. I could try to imagine them as foundations, but I really just don't see them forming a building. Shh, I'm a rebel sympathizer, I've heard of you. While I distract the soldiers, climb onto the steel tower from this box. Already? Yeah, I guess so. Sorry if I don't sound very enthusiastic, Octavia. I'm just not really feeling the plan, you know? I'm trying to break into this Magitech facility to rescue the Espers. Got a sick pony over here and need water. Get out of here. Good distraction, Octavia. They'll be tied up for hours. Seriously, though, I'm just gonna clog the toilets. I don't really have an idea. That is, if they have toilets. I don't think I've seen a single toilet. Ugh, gonna toss it all. Hey! I'm only like 20 feet up, you'd think they could see me. Oh well, whatever, they don't want to see me. It's a pain, they have to do paperwork and file a report. Just let her sneak in, she wants to see the espers, everyone knows they're in there. Surely no one has ever questioned where the magic powers come from. And here we are, this is it! This is the factory. It's made completely out of steel, which means that we must have had another factory to produce the steel to make this factory. Yes, that's right, there's totally a factory somewhere. Someone is producing all the raw materials you need to build a factory from another factory. Why did this factory need to be built out of steel? Hell if I know! Still though, this is some of the most iconic music from the game. Final Fantasy VI had a lot of defining music. It had a few defining locations, but not quite like Final Fantasy VII did. If you ask me, 6 and 7 were the two best games they ever produced. 7 had the best locations, and 6 had a lot of character. This is probably the best location in 6 because it isn't a cave and it isn't a town, but you'll notice that everything else we've explored is basically that. Meanwhile, in 7, you go to places like Wutai, which has a specific culture, or you go to space, or whatever. I mean, don't get me wrong, I prefer 6 up and down, but 7 has got more going on, really, in terms of new places. The Magitech facility is the most unique place we go to in Final Fantasy VI, but it's just conveyor belts and machinery, and none of it has any context. I mean, look at this, the stairs lead nowhere, there's no way in and no way out, the elevator doesn't go to any place. What exactly is the point of all this? What are they producing? Who gets in here? Who works here? Better yet, who came in and laid out the blueprints for this place, and why aren't they fired? You notice these belts don't lead to anywhere? They don't go to anything? I mean, yes, you can ride on them, but they don't give me the impression that they're safe for people. Clearly, Gilda hires retard engineers. The Empire is to scientific discovery what ramen is to noodles. A cheap and somewhat effective alternative without great nutritional value. They taste okay with eggs, but you can't survive on them for too long, or otherwise you get sick. You know, you get like a thing going on, it's not good. If you were wondering, that was a very clever metaphor that I just did. You could tell all your friends about the ramen thing, and then make sure you tell them who told you. I'll get my name in history books. Okay, I admit it, tomorrow I won't even remember why I made that comparison. But you know what's weird though, is that around places like this, treasure chests don't really make as much sense. I mean, already I'm just seeing them all over the place, in caves and underwater and whatnot. That's silly, but in a structure that's supposed to be a facility, you ask more questions. Like, what does the facility do with the gold shield? Are they making them, or are they researching the gold shields? Because it's a magic research facility. Like, potions, I could come up with something. There should be a sign up that says, in case of magical emergency, please dump potion into eyes. Or apply rectally, depending on the situation as it calls for. I wonder if that's something you can do. Maybe that's what they're researching. They're not really very explicit on whether or not they do clinical testing on potions, and they don't really say on the label or anything what you can and cannot do with them. Seems like an accident waiting to happen. Sooner or later, someone is gonna put one in their butt. And what do you do if you're allergic to potions? I mean, do you take like an antidote for that? Is that considered poisoning? Or what does an antidote make you do anyway? How does it purify the body? Man, what if this is another placebo thing? I keep getting tricked by those. For all I know, antidotes are just malt liquor. Who makes these potions anyway? I don't even know. Are they mass-produced or what? Uh-oh. This conveyor belt led straight to the next plot point. Mwahaha, wonderful! These beasts are a key to the ultimate power. Next. Go on. I'll restore the statues! You know you're a bad guy when you stand around in an empty room and you shout foreshadowing exposition at nothing. Especially with dramatic pauses like that. Today, I will have myself a sandwich! It would seem your usefulness has come to an end. Into the pit with you! And then here Discord is being mean just for the sake of it, even though he never really was that mean in the show. Are you still here? Get out! See, that's really common though in a lot of fan works. Some people for some reason just want Discord to be an impressive threat and not like a children's character. I've seen comics, for example, where like a discorded derpy goes home and she shouts at her kid. But let's be honest, the character's voiced by John Delancey for a reason. If they wanted him to be scary, they would have resurrected Tony J with a dark ritual from hell. Then he'd be terrifying for a couple reasons. But no, he's a jokester character, a trickster god. He's fun, he's good for the kids. He doesn't want to kill anyone, he's just an irresponsible god who doesn't empathize with mortals. Sometimes he leaves a pizza in the microwave and he doesn't stop and think to himself, oh my god, I'm descended from chimps. Because he's not descended from chimps, he's a god! There's a sort of broader moral implication to his villainy. It's not like a Cobra Commander thing, you know, where the message is, don't be a dumb Cobra Commander. The message is that you should be able to relate to and try to understand the people that are smaller than you. And oh boy, here we go with another boss battle. If you didn't guess, yes, I got killed in this one, again. I'm starting to worry a little bit. I mean, it was my fault, I guess, because I should have cast Shell on the party, but I don't know. You'll notice that the entire fight is really pretty dull. Trixie's absorbing all the spells, Apple Bloom is on emergency item standby, and then Luna and AJ are dealing all the damage. And then of course I get abruptly killed in 2 turns. And the only reason I got killed is because I didn't put up the barrier spell. I can't tell if I'm just underleveled and you've designed the game to not let me pass very easily if I don't level up, or what. One way or the other, it's just not a good design philosophy here. A lot of ROM hackers do this, but just stop and think, am I playing in a way that's more dynamic, that's more engaging, that required me to think more? Or am I just spamming the same moves and then get shocked by some change you've added? You've increased the health, so now the battle takes longer, but nothing is changing throughout that longer duration. That means that the whole fight is just more boring and it lasts for longer. I can't escape. Now look at this, you see that I cast the runic spell to draw that magic, but the blaze spell still killed the whole party. You can't punish your players that hard for something I can't anticipate. Now, my party had taken damage, and if I'd used the barrier spell, I would have been fine, but the rules changed in the middle of that battle, and I just wasn't expecting it. Your bosses do too much damage, and they have too much health. These boss battles have been like jump scares. I see them the first time and they get me. The second time, I'm expecting them, and it doesn't work. As soon as he cast that spell, the game completely left my control. Do I feel challenged? No. Do I feel frustrated because I'm gonna have to do it again? Yes. Man, look, I'll go back and I'll take care of it later. For now, is anyone familiar with a game called Munchkin? If you are a huge dork, small or big, you totally know what it is. Don't you lie, I know. You've played it. Munchkin is a card game for nerds, and it's insanely popular. It's got expansions that go out for miles. You can play Munchkin cards in space, or in vampires, or zombies, or anywhere you can dream of. But how it's relevant to this game is it's kind of a parody on exactly what this game is doing. You're supposed to be playing the part of these kind of role players, but the entire game revolves around your levels and your damage output. You never actually play a role. You just kill as many monsters as you can to gather as many levels as you can so you can afford to buy the best weapons as you can, and then you go kill another bigger monster. It's totally mindless, but it's a fun game. See, but to understand why they call it Munchkin, you have to know a little bit about role-playing and how it's supposed to work. Normally you'd play a character. That means having motivations and a backstory, maybe a family. You've got some reason to be on your adventure. Unless, of course, you're trying to sit down a bunch of kids to play the games. The kids, and okay, some adults, don't really get the higher concepts. They just want to kill the monsters. They want the biggest sword. They want the most money. Doesn't matter what they do with it so long as they kill another bigger monster. I've seen men high-five each other and do victory dances over rolling high numbers on their dice. So sometimes I'm going through this and I just think to myself, this game is like playing Munchkin. They're like, oh, the bosses have so much health and you're doing so much damage and they're doing so much damage back to you, and it's really all just numbers. I don't care. Even if you're just trying to build a dungeon crawler, you gotta understand that most dungeon crawlers focus a lot on how you design your character, and they give you a lot of options to shake things out. There's some engagement and a reward. The objective isn't to make the monsters kill the player. The objective is for the player to have fun. If, as a game master, you regularly achieve total party kills, you are probably a suck GM. You could smash the planet with a meteor. You don't have to cooperate with the guys. But if you don't, they won't have a lot of fun, will they? They expect to succeed and to live and to make a story. Look, in real life they might be your idiot friends, but in the game they're supposed to win. They're the heroes. It's not about your stupid boss. No one cares about the boss. He's supposed to die. And if he can't even lose, then he can't do anything right. It is good if you can design characters that are challenging and sometimes endanger the party, but if your players die for reasons they feel are outside their control, they will not be satisfied. I know that some of you will say that your group is an exception. They love to have their butts roasted by you. They love it when you just stick a spit into places that spits should not go, and then you just laugh and laugh and laugh as you ruin their day. But you will be shocked to find that the overwhelming majority of people do not share that opinion. Of course, you may also play 4th edition D&D. You mainstream nerd, and I am a better nerd than you. I only play GURPS and the hero system. Also, Children of the Sun, but you probably never heard of it. I bet that in a Star Wars game, you always play a Jedi. Oh man. Sorry guys, sometimes I get really nerdy and then I just lose control. Let's look at the monsters. There was a dog and these flying dragon things. Then there was the mecha toilet and some midgets. And of course there was some soldiers and some dogs. That's it for today. Thanks for playing with me, everybody.